Hello and welcome back to Continental Club. Chris is being very silly, but welcome back where we discuss the hottest topics in European football. Joining me for the first time in a little while, it's James Wayne. Welcome back, mate.
Talking of hot, we all sit. I've just realised we all sit in a row in the office.
We do. Yeah. We brought the office downstairs to the studio, and Chris Hamill is here as ever. Today we're talking free transfers. That's because Axel Heget has asked, with Ramsey now coming into a bit of form, does he show the benefits of a free transfer, and which other free transfers or non-permanent moves, I should say, have caught your eye? But before we get stuck into free transfers, just a quick reminder to subscribe to EuroFootball Daily. If you haven't already, what are you doing? Please subscribe, hit that notification bell to never miss a video. But we've got to talk about Aaron Ramsey, because in July he was unveiled in Turin. Long service at Arsenal, but his contract expired. He signed a pre-contract arrangement with the Turin Giants in February. £400,000 a week. Crazy. The highest earning British player ever on that on salary alone. We're going to analyse how his first few months have gone, what we sort of think about his career going forward, etc., and look at some other free transfers. But we're going to kick off with James Wayne. Wayno, what have you made of Aaron Ramsey in Turin, and what do you think of him as a player?
Yeah, I think it was just a good move in general. I think at Arsenal he's had an extremely long career, 3 FA Cups. I mean, an extended amount of time in the injury room, which is not his own fault. I mean, he is one of these people who's always injured.
It's Ryan Shawcross's fault, isn't it? Really?
Actually, true, yeah.
Digging that one up again?
So I mean, wait for that in the comments. But to be fair to him, he's getting to the latter stages of his career where he's not playing at Arsenal as regularly as he would have liked. I think the benefit, as the question says, the benefit of the free transfer for him is securing the bag of £400,000 a week, which is, I mean, Gareth Bale going to Real Madrid, you'd expect him to be the highest paid British player. He's had a bumper contract, I believe, since joining anyway. So not only has he had the Real Madrid money, he's had it twice over. It just purely shows that a player like Aaron Ramsey, who is a very, very good player, can earn the biggest of bucks. Like, in terms of him actually playing for Juventus, like obviously he's come to a bit of a form. He's playing in a different style. It's a slower league, as we all know. I think he's making half the tackles and interceptions he was making at Arsenal, which is, once again, as you'd expect with a dominant Juventus team in a slower league. But, I mean, his kind of key statistics going forward are pretty much the same. So it's exactly what you'd expect Aaron Ramsey to be doing. He is doing. So in terms of from club to club, the free transfer element of it is pretty irrelevant. If he was to move to Arsenal to Juventus with money, we'd all be like, okay, it's an all right transfer. But the fact that he alone is earning that much money, that is the benefit for him with the free transfer. I don't really have much to say about Aaron Ramsey in terms of how he is, because he's just performing like we expect him to be. But I think the free transfer, as I keep saying, the benefit of it is when people get into their latter stages of their career, they can really, really benefit of thinking, okay, I'm going to move somewhere. If I move within my contract, I'm not going to get paid the same. Let's just secure the bag while I can.
Yeah, fair enough. And he has come into a bit of minutes in the last sort of 5 games. I think he's now on just over 200 in all competitions. But Chris, Sarri has seemed to favour the sort of Pjanic, Matuidi, Khedira midfield so far. I mean, what do you think about Sarri not necessarily utilising Ramsey and Rabiot from the start in these games so much?
Well, I think this will come back to bite Juventus in the arse eventually, kind of stockpiling very expensive midfield talent, and they need to shed, a bit of weight, don't they? Maybe in the winter transfer window to fund moves for more pressing areas. So I think he played Ramsey against Spal in a 10 behind Ronaldo and possibly Dybala. And I think from there, 1 tackle, 2 dribbles, 1 key pass, 1 shot. So not exactly electric numbers, and that is the area in which he really prospers, isn't it? Because his defensive numbers have never been great. He defends and presses from the front well. He's someone that wins the ball back in advantageous areas. But when Sarri reverted to that 3 that you just mentioned against Leverkusen in the Champions League, they looked a lot more fluid. They won 3-0. Ronaldo probably could have had a hat-trick on the night. So they were a much more enticing prospect. And Sarri hasn't traditionally deployed a 10. So I'm not sure if he was at the helm when they'd agreed when they were pursuing Ramsey, if he would have pursued him to the degree of £400,000 a week. He often prefers that the player on that left-hand side coming inside, doesn't he, and operating in that central area, and the front three really rotating, which was the case at Napoli. I mean, you're getting a guy whose expected goals and assists was 0.3 at Arsenal, contributing to a Premier League goal. I think, yeah, every 1 in 3 games. So it kind of makes sense, doesn't it, on that front? I mean, if he's free and available, you're not paying a fee for him, I can understand why they went from him. But if it comes at the cost of, Dybala starting in that number 10 position, if he's not playing on a Bentancur, they're very, very, the players on opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of their skill set. But if he's taking minutes away from other players, then I'm not sure how good it's going to be for Juventus in the long term. Haven't watched an awful lot of Serie A football at the start of this campaign. Juve in a couple of games. I mean, the league's coming good. The back four's looking a little bit more assured now. They were just scraping by at the start of the season, weren't they? I think it was Chiellini scoring that goal against was it Parma maybe?
Yeah.
I think that was the opening game actually. But they're starting to put together a little bit of momentum, which is good because Conte's Inter are looking mightily impressive, aren't they? But in terms of other free transfers that are well worth a mention in that league, I mean, Franck Ribéry at La Viola, Fiorentina, has been killing it. Well, his numbers, if we talk about Ramsey's numbers sort of plateauing, I think Ribéry's managed to drag his numbers back up, and I don't think he'd started over 15 league games in sort of the last 3 or 4 years because injuries have persistently, they haunted his last 4 or 5 years at Bayern in Bavaria. But I think up to around 3 shots, completing almost 2 dribbles, single-handedly destroyed AC Milan when they ran out 3-1 victors at the San Siro. And they really needed that, didn't they? Because they got off to a stuttering start. Simeone had a really poor last campaign up front. Chiesa has started very well as well, and he seems to be dovetailing with him nicely. So Franck Ribéry in Florence, another bloody good free transfer.
Yeah, I mean, it was much needed, his sort of impact. 'Cause I think they only finished, I think it was 4 points clear of relegation last year. So it was a really sort of damaging campaign from La Viola, but they did take apart AC Milan last Sunday in fantastic fashion. Although I'm reading reports that Marco Giampaolo could be out of a job come the international break. Supposedly clueless, doesn't know his best team, doesn't know his best formation, keeps on playing the likes of Barini in a midfield 3, just doesn't seem to have it right. And that 4-3-1-2, just hasn't really worked for the players he's got. Although Rafa Leao did score a fantastic goal against Fiorentina, if you haven't seen that.
I also got Ribéry stats wrong. It's 1.8 key passes, 4.4 dribbles, which is up from 2.8, which at the mighty old age of 36, 37 now, that is crazy.
Yeah, I thought it was just going to be a nice sort of year, maybe 18 months, just slowly ease into retirement, but he's back with a vengeance after a fantastic career at Bayern. I think he left 12th on their appearance list, I think 13th for goals as well. Did fantastically well, but they aren't the only free transfers that have done well in Italy. Diego Godin's gone to Inter Milan, playing exceptionally well at the start of this campaign. Didn't actually start initially, but has looked sort of really rejuvenated by this Conte system. He's playing in the centre of the back 3. So he's got the added protection because he doesn't have quite the pace that he used to. But
Skriniar and De Vrij, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. And still so combative. He's like getting into the opposition box a lot. I saw him trying to attempt an overhead kick a couple of weeks ago. He's pinging balls through, which I never really considered a crucial part of his long game, his sort of long ball numbers. And his tackle and interceptions are still fantastic. So he's just brought all his form, all his experience to Inter Milan, and they look a really good proposition at the start of this season. Jimbo, another player that's gone abroad for a free transfer is Ander Herrera. How big a loss do you think he's been to Man United's midfield this term, and what do you see from him at PSG?
Yeah, I think personally, from Ander Herrera's point of view, it was a fantastic move because, I mean, I'll get a lot of flack for this, but getting out of United was extremely important for him.
Fair enough.
It's a team that, well, a club right now that's just in turmoil from top to bottom, and for him to get out on a free was a sensible choice. Going to PSG, he's not going to get as many minutes as he would do at United. He would be a key player for the English team, but to be fair, PSG have lacked those kind of midfielders in the kind of the second midfielders, let's say, not the top tier ones, where they they bring them in for the lesser games, so you can have kind of the Verrattis, the now Idrissa Gueys, fit for the Champions League games, that can do a job like Ander Herrera. He is such an energetic and kind of give it all kind of player that I think that it was a fantastic move. And when you see these players, I don't know, I obviously enjoyed it because it's United and they're crumbling. But when you have these players that move at these latter stages of their career, it's usually a choice of kind of I'm better than this club. The club's better than me, or I'm better than the club, or I need a new challenge. And it was definitely the case of I'm better than the club for United, which is a bit of a sorry state of affairs. Yeah,
I think it's probably fair enough. I think he probably judged it quite well. If he wasn't getting the contract terms that he wanted, then fair enough. And as you say, PSG have now got fantastic midfield options, not just Verratti and Gay, but Marquinhos is still playing as that deep line midfielder, playing exceptionally well. Paredes as well has looked pretty assured since he came in last January, I think it was. So they're now going to be increasingly difficult to win sort of a midfield battle against PSG. They probably haven't been as entertaining in the league as they were last year so far. Quite a few 1-0 wins, basically through the creativity of Neymar that I've seen so far. But Mbappe coming back into form, came on at midweek. They got that win in the Champions League as well through Icardi's goal. So good things for PSG. But yeah, it was a fantastic week of Champions League action, Chris. And I know you wanted to give a shout out to the Europa League action last night because you particularly enjoyed it.
Yeah. Champions League's overrated, mate. The Europa League is where it's at. You know, slightly more humble footballers. It's the realists' competition. Celtic were very impressive against Cluj. I'm going to bore you all now with a 20-minute monologue about Scott Brown's performance in the centre of midfield as a 34-year-old. So, you know, just the 6 tackles and interceptions, chance created.
Chance created?
Just pulling the strings from. Pulling the strings from deep. Do not condescend Scott Brown
I love it.
in my company. No, I mean, we were actually going to kind of segue it into loan moves, weren't we?
Yeah.
And I was. That came from El Yunusi. Obviously, we've got him on loan from Southampton, having a very kind of proficient game last night. 2 chances created, 1 goal scored. And what other? I mean, Martinelli's not on loan, is he? But they signed him on a permanent this summer. But he was extremely impressive against Standard Liège, wasn't it? And you know, Kieran Tierney creating 4 chances from left back, just marauding up and down that left hand side. Really, you know, taken to life at Arsenal as every Celtic fan expected, just imperious. And I hope he starts against Brighton at the weekend because Arsenal need 2-way fullbacks back in that side because they're defensively suspect. And as good as Kolasinac is going forward and progressing the ball and creating high quality chances inside the box with his service, he's not athletic enough to go up the pitch and then not be porous down that left-hand side because he just can't get back. Yeah, what else happened in the Europa League / the Champions League? Any surprise results?
Well, I think everyone was pretty shocked by the 7-2, obviously. Although I've
kind of erased that from my memory because the stream wouldn't work.
Yeah, again, we apologise.
The day before.
But just the Champions League.
We did apologise for that yesterday on UCL Review, but if you missed that, sorry again that the stream didn't work on Wednesday. We had technical problems. We were all set up, ready to go. Technical problems meant that we couldn't do it, but we were as gutted as you were. Anyway, but hopefully we'll have them up and running for the next game week and every game week after that. But yeah, sorry again if you're waiting for that. We will try and do better. But yeah, technical issues, not much we could do in that case. But yeah, onwards and upwards. I think we're doing Chelsea Ajax in a couple of weeks, so get excited for that. But yeah, that 7-2 was a real surprise. I thought actually Spurs played surprisingly well for the first 35 minutes. And if they'd taken more of their chances, particularly from Son in the first 15, it could have been a very different game. But they just looked like they slightly tired in that diamond formation. And then I thought it was a bit of a mistake to take Ndombele off. I thought he was their best player on the night, pretty much. And then Eriksen coming on. And it was just a capitulation in the last 10.
Yeah, what about Liverpool versus Salzburg, the 4-3? Because it prompted Cesc Fabregas to say on Twitter that he thinks Sadio Mane is currently the 3rd best player in the world.
I don't know what
do we make of that? An in-form Sadio Mane?
I don't know what Cesc has been drinking, but he might be in form in the top 10, probably.
Yeah.
Top 10, top 5 form players in the world. But top 3 players in the world, I mean, what do you make of that, Jim?
I mean, maybe not talent-wise, but as an entertaining player, you could easily argue that he's one of the top 3 most entertaining players.
This is what McCubbin said yesterday. He agreed.
I mean, Sadio Mane has been consistently performing for the last 2-3 years now at the highest level, and it's probably getting to those areas where we should really kind of
put more respect on his name.
Yeah, put a bit more respect on his name, exactly. But it's I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion.
So-
Cesc Fabregas.
Who's more? But Cesc Fabregas. I appreciate footballing opinions that come from really cultured central midfielders because that is the hardest position to play, and they know a bloody good player when they see one.
And he comes across as intelligent.
You know, if Thiago Alcantara told me I think this guy's the best in the world, I'd be like, well, you're correct because your footballing IQ is through the roof. But even if we think about it just on a Premier League basis to really help narrow our train of thought, who is more informed than this guy right now? Maybe KDB?
Yeah.
Riyad Mahrez is really fun to watch. He started the season extremely well, but I'd say that Sadio Mane is edging him at the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
Sterling potentially, but he's had a quieter last couple of weeks, hasn't he?
Sterling was on the bench when they smashed Watford 8-0.
And didn't play at his best against Everton as well. I'd maybe go Bobby Firmino. I think he's playing exceptionally well. I think he's probably playing maybe as good or slightly better than Mane. But it's an interesting point. I think he's in the Premier League. He's definitely in the top 5 most formed players.
But again, there's been a couple of weeks in the last... Well, there's been a couple of matches, in the last 2 or 3 weeks where Bobby Firmino's explosive form at the start of the season has sort of not died down, but I remember a couple of winners and losers, him only generating sort of 1 shot, 2 shots in the last few games as people have kind of sat a little bit deeper against Liverpool, deployed a bit more of a deeper block, and it's Sadio Mane again who is unlocking those defences. He's just such a destructive player at the moment, isn't he? That first goal against Salzburg with the interchange with Firmino, which is obviously what he's exceptional at, was beautiful.
Yeah, I absolutely love that run from Robertson as well. Give and go and then gets into the front post. Absolutely mental from Trent. That was fantastic. Just as we're on the topic of Champions League and Europa League, who are you guys thinking are the front runners for? Let's go with the Champions League.
I mean, I saw...
Sorry, what? Just the Champions League, not Europa League?
Fine, we can do Europa League as well.
I'll do Europa League. Disrespect.
I saw someone's... I think it was a question for this show saying, what do you think about Bayern Munich's chances of the Champions League? Like, are they favourites now after that absolute drubbing of Tottenham? I think like they're always in contention, but this year they look a different beast. I think there's a lot of the players are realising now that Robin Ribéry gone, there's a kind of a new, kind of fresher look to Bayern Munich, and I think it's extremely dangerous, and I think we shouldn't really underestimate them. But I mean, you've got the classics of Liverpool, City, Real Madrid, and Barcelona. I think have fallen off a bit. Yeah. Barcelona, I will say aren't. Oh God, this is risky. Aren't Champions League contenders with Valverde. I think
that's too risky. I mean, they've started the season. They're what, 4th at the moment.
Yeah. They've got the players for it. Any manager that's, I mean, you get a Nagelsmann type player, obviously a Pep type player. These kind of fluid attacking managers to come into that side, and they're now a Champions League winning team again. Real Madrid just look horrendous. PSG. I mean, they look a different beast this year. I think they've sorted out the midfield in terms of they've got, what was that phrase? They've taken out the egos of the team, and they've got more kind of runners and tacklers, and people just get on with the job, which I kind of really enjoy to see. And I kind of dislike the fact that I like their squad now, and I really enjoy watching them.
But if you had to say one team,
I'm going to be extremely biased and say City.
Fair.
But
Fair.
That's probably not realistic.
Chris, and let's have Europa League as well.
Thank you. I would probably go. I think I said Barcelona at the start of the season, and obviously Messi's had his injury woes at the start of this campaign, and when he comes back, you have the world's best passer coming back, you have the world's best finisher. So I don't want to underestimate, what Barcelona's power of recovery with him in the side. And even against Inter Milan, he wasn't particularly at his best, but he was still pulling the strings from a creator's perspective. And Luis Suarez, thank God he started to bang in the Champions League, because if that hadn't have arrived sooner or later, there would have been justifiable calls for him to be dropped in that.
As many goals in that game as in his previous 2 Champions League
in that
years.
tournament. Yeah.
Years.
Group stages.
I think
sorry.
it's. Yeah, I don't want to say how many fixtures because I forgot the stat. It's very early. We shoot this very early. Do I just stick with Barcelona? I think at this point, Barcelona, Liverpool. I just back Liverpool over 2 legs to kind of destroy anyone. Salzburg, maybe
so
the dark horse.
So
they
fun.
could probably get to the quarterfinals. They are a really fun side. When you can go toe-to-toe with Liverpool at Anfield, it's normally a very good sign, isn't it? And you sort of saw Klopp on the sideline during the game. I think after that, I want to say Hwang goal?
Yeah.
Or was it? I can't remember which goal, but you just saw Jurgen Klopp on the sideline afterwards, like, oh God. Yeah. Like, that's almost a play out of my book. So yeah, I'm gonna go Liverpool, closely followed by Barcelona with an informed Messi. And for the Europa League, I mean, aside from the clubs that drop out from the Champions League, because there was 2 or 3 groups in the Champions League where the third seed or the third team is extremely strong. Yeah, Celtic.
Fair. Celtic. I said Barcelona at the start of the season. Going to stick with Barcelona, but I'm going to give a shout out to Ajax as potentially doing a quarter-final, semi-final again. I think they've looked absolutely awesome in the Champions League so far. Well done, Erik ten Hag.
You've seen their Eredivisie map on StatsBomb? They've just like completed.
I saw Pat talking about it.
It's just finished. They're just the complete side. Shout out to Sergio Dest as well.
And Donny van der Beek as well. Didn't actually think he was Real Madrid quality. Starting to think that he might be. So shout out to him. And also another free transfer to quickly mention, Fernando Llorente starting very well in Naples. But yeah, that's our first part of our discussion. Let's move on to big match preview. Our big match preview this weekend is Inter Milan taking on Juventus on Sunday at 7:45. It's first hosting second in Serie A as Antonio Conte welcomes his former club with whom he made close to 300 appearances as a player and won 8 Scudettos as a player and manager. Inter Milan obviously lost at the Nou Camp 2-1 in midweek. Juventus, as we've already touched upon, battered Bayer Leverkusen 3-0. Massive game in the first Derby d'Italia of the season. Chris, Inter Milan will go into this for the first time in a while, possibly as favourites.
Yeah, strange position for Inter Milan fans to be in, having this sense of confidence over a Juventus side which, like you've said, have dominated domestically as of late. The Italians, the Nerazzurri, they're one of 6 clubs currently unbeaten in the top 5 leagues. Imperious start to the season, scoring 13 goals, only topped by Atalanta and Napoli, and they've only conceded 2. I think the next best team is Lazio on 4. Simone Inzaghi and Conte, very good defensive coaches. But Conte has managed to add goals to that defensive rigidity, hasn't he? Wednesday was actually the first time against Barcelona in 8 games under Conte that they've conceded more than 1 goal in a single game. And there is room for improvement, which is the scary thing. Oh, little foot tap.
I know.
Clearly agreed with that point, didn't you?
I like your point.
Because they're 6th for shots and 10th for shots conceded. So actually the underlying numbers do suggest that they can improve in those areas, but they're still top, aren't they? By virtue of Juve drawing 1 game, right? So they are hot on their tails, Sarri's men. 5th for expected goals, 2nd for expected goals against. That's not really surprising, is it? That they're slightly better in defence than they are attack. Tends to be the case with a Conte side, but still top for expected points. So really, some of the results have been ground out, but I think only 2 of their 6 games this season have been against sides in the top 10. So they do have to go through a tougher period in the ensuing months, and we'll get a true test, a true clearer idea of how much Conte has improved them against sterner opposition. But like we kind of alluded to in the previous section, some of their recent additions have just been sensational. Lukaku has adjusted to life really well at the San Siro, hasn't he? So I think he's got 3 goals in 6 Serie A games. Not putting up an awful lot of shots per game in terms of volume. I'd like to see that increase. He does still have this tendency to not be in the box as much as I'd like. He's trying to join in with build-up play, and I don't really think that's his game. Not all that adept at passing, is he? I'll tell you who is though. Sensi from Sassuolo, of course. Not arrived on a permanent, right?
No, it's a
loan,
yeah.
But we're seeing a lot of these sort of dealings in Italy, aren't we? Loans with options to buy after kind of 2 years. 3 goals, 2 assists, 3.4 tackles and interceptions, 3.4 shots, 2.8 key passes and 1.5 dribbles. Just transported that scintillating form from Sassuolo and just maintained it at Inter Milan, even with expectations sort of rising as well. Brozovic continues to be a statistical freak wherever you play him in this Inter Milan side. He is absolutely killing it. 2 goals in 6 games from the base of midfield. 5 tackles, interceptions, over 2 shots, 1.2 key passes, 1.3 dribbles, 2. And I think Lautaro Martinez, who has at times played in a 2 with Lukaku, sometimes he's deputised for him. I think probably one of the most underrated players at a top club. I think this guy could be absolutely sensational, averaging over 5 shots. So he's the volume guy, getting them off in really good positions as well. The majority of those coming from inside the box. And we saw, his instinctive nature against Barcelona. What a finish that was. Steered into the side net and passed to Stegen with his left foot. I think if he's given the adequate amount of minutes, and he does strike me as a Sarri sort of player actually, then not a Sarri sort of player, a Conte sort of player. Yeah, someone that's just dangerous inside the box. Then yeah, I think he could put up some really, really strong numbers. But Sarri started life well under you at Juve. Jimbo, what do you make of him?
Yeah, I thought it was a bit of an odd appointment getting him in because personally I don't see him as, I know it sounds weird, but Juventus is a very classy club and I mean, it's not a personal dig, but he doesn't seem like a classy player. Even manager, sorry. Even in the way he kind of plays football in a sense, it's classy in a different way to Juventus have been. They're kind of the defensive. We're gonna do everything from the back, where he's just run and gun, go. I do think there's some transitional changes for both Inter Milan and Juventus that are working in, well, I wouldn't say working in Inter Milan's favour more, but have happened quicker for Inter Milan. I think that Conte has come in, settled the squad. He's got rid of the loan move from Icardi to PSG. I think was a fantastic move in the way he got Godin and Lukaku in, because you get out a player who's quite disruptive. The captaincy issue, just everything from last season, all those issues have been flushed out. You've got a captain, a real captain, into the squad, and you've got a striker who is, we were saying that Lukaku hasn't got that many goals and he's sitting back, but when he's got his chances, he has taken them quite well. And Icardi was a similar player where he didn't get many chances, but when he got them, he would convert them. So I think that was a fantastic move and possibly one of the kind of smartest moves I've seen in a long, long time in football. And I think it's gone quite unnoticed, that kind of, just the dressing room change and the way Conte would like a settled squad, and he has done exactly that. Where Juventus don't look as settled. I don't think it's like a crisis or anything, but I do feel that with Sarri coming in, there's such a change with him and Allegri and how settled they were, that they're going to have teething problems for now. And I think if Inter are going to strike and not only challenge for the title but beat them in these games, this is the time for it, and I can definitely see that happening. Juventus, though, as I said, it's not a crisis. They're still performing well. The strikers are still absolutely banging, but it's teething problems.
Yeah, I agree. I think the game against Bayer Leverkusen in midweek was the best I've seen them play this year. I think before that they'd beaten Hellas Verona and Brescia 2-1 in both games, and then Spal 2-0. And these are sides that, for a side of Juventus' quality with the world-class players they've got, these are newly promoted sides or teams at the bottom end of the table. They really need to be dispatching them. And yeah, they've got some players in form, but only Higuain, Ramsey and Ronaldo are averaging over 0.5 expected goals and assists combined per 90. So there's definitely some teething problems in attack. I totally agree with you in that. But it's going to be a big ask for Inter Milan. They've got an appalling record in this fixture. They've only won one of their last 18 league matches dating back to November 2012. Juventus in that time have won 10 of them, and there's been 7 draws.
They've not had a manager of this calibre probably since Man City.
I agree, and they've had all those years where they went through about 4 or 5 in the space of about 3 years. But now I think I agree with you guys. I think this is Inter Milan's best chance for a while. But they do have some injury concerns going into them. They've got Lukaku, missed that midweek game against Barcelona, which is a big doubt. It's actually not been confirmed whether he's available or not. He'll be a big loss, although Lautaro Martinez, as Chris says, able deputy. Juventus also missing some big names as well. Chiellini's obviously out for the season. Perin, De Sciglio, Danilo. So they're going to have to play Juan Cuadrado at right back, although he did play very well there in midweek against Bayer Leverkusen. So it's going to be a fascinating game, and hopefully well, just for the interest of the league, that Inter Milan can get the win and establish themselves as the front runners in this Serie A campaign, because we've been dying out for a bit of Serie A entertainment for years. But Jimbo, let's have a quick prediction.
I think just for the fact that they look more settled, and when a Conte side is scoring as they are, it's very scary. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win for Inter.
Chris?
Yeah, I don't want to get carried away with the start that Inter Milan have made because of the opposition they have faced. Like we mentioned prior, and this Juve attack is still very proficient despite the lack of goals prior to that Champions League game against Leverkusen. I think Ronaldo, Dybala and Bernardeschi all averaging over 4 shots, so you're starting to see Sarri really make his mark on this side. I think Dybala's also creating over 2.5 opportunities a game, so we're starting to see the Dybala of not last year but the year before, at least statistically. I know that his place in the team is still kind of, there's an element of rotation there. And there's some very interesting midfield battles, isn't there? Barella has been great, Brozovic has been great, Rabiot is starting to really find his feet. I think over 5 tackles interceptions.
Hopefully our man Ramsey starts.
Oh, I'm not really, you said quickly as well, I'm going to go 2-2.
2-2, okay, thriller. I'm going to go 1-0 Inter Milan. I've just got a feeling, but hopefully it's more of the Chris's game. Hopefully it's high on entertainment. Yeah, let us know what you guys think the score is going to be in the comments below, and let's move on to quickfire questions. Right, we're just going to do a couple of quickfire questions because we've been rambling on for ages and ages. But the first comes from @FootballLane1, and they ask Real Sociedad as potential top 4 challengers. Chris, I know you've been taking a keen interest in them and one particular player this season.
Yeah, I'm ready now. I'm in the mood to talk. At the end of a Continental Club shoot, I was then ready to shoot Continental Club.
The coffee's hit.
So, hopefully this last answer will be dynamite. I've actually been doing a little bit of Real Sociedad on the podcast, Sunday Vibes Extra Time, obviously out this Sunday, so keep your peepers peeled for that one. But yes, Martin Odegaard, and I love talking about him because he is a glorious footballer to watch, just absolutely killing it in the Basque Country at the moment. So 3.3 chances created per 90 this term, which is a joint first in La Liga with Toni Kroos, also a very, very adept dribbler. 2.6 dribbles per 90, which is 4th. I was very surprised to see that Nabil Fekir, Denis Suarez and Arta are the top 3. So Arta obviously very, very handy footballer. But 3.3 dribbles, that's pretty impressive from someone at the base of that midfield who's generally a playmaker. Denis Suarez, I think Celta Vigo are currently 17th.
So he's back to his best. Yeah.
He's really, dragging them out of the relegation zone by himself. And Nabil Fekir, Real Betis blown hot and cold, but still over 4 dribbles, which is insane. But back to Martin Odegaard, because I think he's actually responsible for around 45% of the chances created in any La Real game. So just already a creative linchpin in that side. And a side that has some very exciting young talent, not just attacking talent. Of course, Alexander Isaac signed as well. He has his goal already. I think expected goals it takes. He should probably have another one. He's been a little bit unlucky in that regard. Mikel Merino of ex-Newcastle fame at the base of midfield with Ilarramendi, who's still just, putting up like 80 passes a game. Very good defensive numbers. I think they're probably league average, both attacking and defending wise, even with some exceptional individuals. So over the course of the season, we might see them gradually drop down the table. But I really hope they secure Europa League football, because last season they were in pole position to do so and messed up in their last 5 games, and Espanyol went undefeated in their last 5 games. So they clinched it, but I do think there's enough quality in that side to probably finish 7th, 6th or 7th. So,
very good answer. I hope you enjoyed that Football Lane one. We'll just do one more, and it is from Thumbs Markison. Could there be a surprise winner in the Champions League this season? James, we talked briefly that you thought Man City were probably the favourites. Could you see a surprise winner? I
don't really see a surprise winner, but I could see a team going further than we expected, which is Real Salzburg, RB Salzburg.
Real Salzburg combined the
I was just thinking that I genuinely see them, realistically, they could top the group. With a group with Liverpool and Napoli in. And at the start of the season, if you said, well, Salzburg.
Well, they got 3 points from 2 games. Yeah, they could.
And they gave a game to Liverpool at Anfield, which is, Liverpool's bread and butter is just destroying teams at Anfield. And if they can do it there, I think we can realistically see a home win for Salzburg. So I'll say them, but
The matches against Napoli are crucial,
Yeah,
aren't they?
no,
Because
it's gonna be so fun.
they're
I
much more
can't wait for
beatable
that.
than Liverpool.
I say that's probably the game to watch now. Like that group is the group to watch now from in the Champions League, and I would love to see them progress into the latter stages of the Champions League. But I don't really. I mean, the Champions League's the Champions League. I don't realistically see an outside winner apart from the obvious ones. Ajax, I mean, they got to the semi-finals last season, and I think they're still as stable as they were, if not better, with a kind of weaker squad. So I could see them getting as far.
Yeah,
but
I mean, it's incredible work from them. Losing De Jong, De Ligt, Lasse Schöne as well. Like that is a massive amount of squad turnover. And obviously they had interest in lots of other players in the summer. I think Tadic was linked with a move, Donny van der Beek as well. So to keep that squad happy and firing is a massive achievement, and full credit to Erik ten Hag. In terms of surprise winners, I think surprise winners are sort of gone, to be honest. We haven't had a surprise winner since I think probably Chelsea in 2012 was probably the last surprise winner.
Even then, Chelsea.
And they had a fantastic squad. I mean, to fully win the Champions League as an underdog, I don't think really happens anymore.
Yeah.
It's not, now with the disparity in wages and the disparity in transfer budgets, it's almost impossible.
The last team was probably Porto, realistically, with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Not
Atletico
so long
Madrid
ago.
would still be an underdog, and they've just spent £120 million on a player. So.
Exactly. So we're not potentially seeing any surprise winners this year. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, everyone. Let us know what you guys thought of our comments in the comments down below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, of course. And what should they go do now, James?
Go watch Squad Goals. There's lots of fun going on over there. A bit different, something you may not have realised you like. Yeah.
Nice. Chris, anything from you?
Well, of course, the podcast, as I mentioned, and We Need to Talk over on Football Daily. Sorry. Yeah, go and watch that.
Nice. And go check out our Unfiltered yesterday with Fabian Schär, another excellent interview by Mr. Chris Hamel. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Bye.
He's fit, by the way.